They thought she was just another woman jogging through the city at night, until the black SUV cut her off and a pistol pressed against her spine. The mistake wasn't pulling the trigger, it was hunting a Navy SEAL who'd already heard them coming. You're watching The Storyscape, real cinematic tales of courage, silence, and survival. Before we dive in, tell us, where are you watching from? The air along the Los Angeles River smelled of dust and streetlight heat, that dry metallic scent that hangs after midnight. Ava Brooks ran the same route every night, her breathing even, her pulse steady. It wasn't about fitness anymore. It was about rhythm, predictability, control. But predators love patterns. When the black SUV rolled in behind her, matching her pace without headlights, she didn't look back. She counted the seconds between its gear shifts, cataloged the sound of its tires, and angled toward the bridge. Concrete, shadows, echo, cover. She adjusted her stride, pretending to stretch her calves near the guardrail, every muscle waiting for confirmation. It came fast. The engine surged, tires hissed. Two men stepped out before the car even stopped, tactical silhouettes under the orange sodium lights. "Hands up," one of them ordered. The voice was calm, American, not drunk, not random, trained. She lifted her hands slowly. Does this really become the part where I panic? Only if you're smart. She turned slightly, enough to glimpse the weapon in her right hand, trigger finger resting outside the guard. Professional discipline. These weren't muggers. This was an operation. "Step forward," he said. She did exactly one step, then another. He reached for her arm. That was his mistake. In a single motion, Ava twisted, dropped her weight, and slammed her elbow into his ribs. He gasped, folding forward. Before his partner could draw, she pivoted, kicked his knee sideways, and grabbed the first man's weapon as he fell. The Glock came free, still warm. She stepped back, gun leveled, both men disoriented on the asphalt. "Who sent you?" No answer, just a sneer and the faintest trace of an accent. Eastern European, maybe Russian. She caught a movement in her peripheral vision, a third figure exiting the SUV. Unlike the others, he wasn't built for combat. He wore a suit, calm and calculated, like someone used to commanding violence from a distance. He carried something in his hand, an envelope. "You've been hard to find, Ms. Brooks. Your name doesn't show up on any record since Kandahar." She eyes narrowed. "That's classified." He smiled. "Not anymore." He tossed the envelope at her feet. Photographs spilled onto the pavement. Her apartment, her car, her usual running trail, every movement documented for weeks. But one image stopped her cold. A photo from 7 years ago, her SEAL team in the desert. The one photo that should have been buried with the mission. Her grip tightened on the pistol. "How did you get this?" "Let's just say you left something unfinished," he replied. "Our employer wants to talk." "Who's your employer?" "You'll find out soon enough. But if you refuse," his eyes flicked toward the photos, "the next target won't be you." Ava's breathing slowed. Every instinct screamed that this wasn't about money. It was about silence. Someone wanted her erased, and they'd just shown her how much they already knew. Then she noticed it. A reflection in the SUV's mirror, movement behind her, the man she'd disarmed reaching for a backup weapon. She fired once. The shot echoed beneath the bridge, shattering the night open.
By the time the flash faded, the two gunmen were down, and the suited man was gone, melted back into the shadows, leaving only the hum of the idling engine and the smell of gunpowder. Ava crouched, gathering the photos. On the back of one was written in red ink, a single line: "You were never off the grid." Her stomach turned cold. They hadn't come to threaten her. They'd come to reactivate her. And before the night was over, she'd learned the mission never ended. It just changed battlefields. The sirens echoed across the reservoir like ghosts, bouncing off concrete and steel. Ava ducked into the shadows under the bridge, clutching the envelope against her chest. Her breathing was controlled, not calm, but measured. She'd learned long ago that panic was just noise in disguise. She slipped her phone from her pocket, hesitated, then tucked it away again. Calling the police was useless. Civilians saw two injured men and assumed she was the suspect. And whoever those men worked for, they had reach. The kind of reach that made local cops look like pawns. The night swallowed her as she moved along the waterway. Every sound was amplified: the buzz of streetlights, the distant sirens, her own heartbeat. Her mind was replaying the man's words on loop. "Our employer wants to talk." But it was the phrase Kandahar that froze her blood. That mission wasn't just classified, it was erased. If they knew about Kandahar, they knew about everything she buried there. Ava reached her apartment before dawn. She didn't switch on the lights. Instead, she peeled off her gloves, set the photos across the kitchen counter, and began sorting them like evidence. Each one had a timestamp, a pattern. Whoever took them wasn't sloppy. They'd tracked her with military precision. But one detail didn't fit. The angles were too close, the perspective too familiar. Some had been taken from her own building. Someone inside her complex had been watching her. Ava felt the weight of every quiet morning she'd spent making coffee by the window, unaware she was under a lens.
She flipped the Kandahar photo over again. The red ink had bled slightly, as if written in haste. But under the line, "You were never off the grid," another faint indentation became visible when she tilted it toward the light, a pressure mark from a pen. She rubbed charcoal over the back of the image to lift the words. Slowly, a second message revealed itself. "Unit 12, still active. Secure the file before they do." Unit 12. Her old team designation. But Unit 12 was gone. At least that's what the report had said. She stared at the phrase until her throat went dry. It wasn't just surveillance. It was a warning. Her instinct screamed that someone had resurrected the mission that never meant to exist. The file, whatever it was, had to be tied to that last op in Kandahar. The op that went sideways, the one that ended in silence and missing names. Ava pulled a mill case from under her bed, an old seal storage box she hadn't opened in years. Inside, encrypted drives, mission logs, a silver dog tag with her old call sign, Echo 9. She inserted the oldest drive into her secure laptop and began decrypting. It took 10 minutes for the first file to unlock. The contents were fragments, GPS coordinates, transmission codes, and a blacked-out report titled Operation Helix. She hadn't seen that word since the desert. Operation Helix had been a joint mission, Navy and private contractors. The goal: extract a scientist with classified biodefense data from a war zone. The result: complete disaster. 2 team members dead, 1 missing. The scientist never recovered. And apparently,
Someone had decided to finish what started that night. The past wasn't following her. It was being rebuilt. Her secure phone buzzed on the table, cutting through the silence. No caller ID, but she knew the encryption key. Only one person used that frequency. Commander Briggs, her old CO from DevGru. She answered quietly. "Brooks?" "I heard there was trouble," Briggs said. His voice was older, graveled, but still sharp. "I tried," she said. "Someone dug up Helix." Briggs was silent for a long second. "That's impossible. Everything tied to that op was buried under Pentagon stone." "Then explain the men who knew my name and my unit." "Can't do that on this line," he muttered. "We're not the only ones listening anymore." Ava paced to the window, watching the faint orange glow of sunrise creep between the buildings. The city looked peaceful, but she could feel the storm behind it. "What do they want?" she asked. "The same thing they wanted 7 years ago," Briggs said grimly. "The Helix data, whatever's left of it." "I don't have it." "Doesn't matter," he said. "They think you do, and they won't stop until you're in the ground or you give them something to chase instead." The line went dead. Ava exhaled slowly, the old instincts flooding back in. It wasn't just about her anymore. The file, the photos, the surveillance, it all pointed to a reactivated operation. Someone had stolen the ghost of Kandahar and turned it into a weapon. She gathered her gear, a burner phone, a sidearm, the encrypted drive. The quiet life she'd built over 2 years vanished in seconds. As she stepped into the morning light, her reflection in the window caught her eye. Same calm expression, same steady stare. But behind it, something had woken up again. They wanted the seal. They'd get her, just not the way they expected. Down below, a black sedan turned the corner and slowed near her building. The same tinted windows, the same patient hum. This time, Ava didn't wait. She was already moving. By the time they realized she was gone, Ava Brooks was halfway across the city, hunting the hunters. The first light of dawn caught the rusted edge of the mechanic's garage as Ava slid the door open. The place hadn't changed. Cold concrete, the smell of oil, a metal table buried under dust and memories. This was where she'd gone dark 2 years ago. She told herself she'd never return, but the moment she stepped inside, her body remembered every inch. She dropped the manila envelope on the workbench and plugged her encrypted drive into an old diagnostic console. The green digits blinked to life, decrypting pieces of a mission she'd spent years trying to forget. The screen flickered, then froze on grainy footage from Kandahar, 2018. Her SEAL unit under fire, the extraction gone wrong. And in the chaos, one familiar face. Lieutenant Jack Hale. The man she'd buried wasn't dead. He'd just stopped fighting for the same side. The footage showed Hale dragged from the rubble alive by men in unmarked tactical gear. Not her team, not Taliban. Their sleeves bore a silver Falcon insignia. Ava's pulse spiked. She whispered the name under her breath. Falcon Systems. A knock of static buzzed through the garage. Her secure phone vibrated. Encrypted signal, no ID. She hesitated, then answered. "Ava." Her breath caught. "Hale?" Quiet chuckle. "Still sharp. I was starting to think you forgot about me." She froze. "You were declared KIA." "I was. The Falcon found me before you did. Fixed me up, buried me under a new name. You call that being saved? I call it surviving. The Navy abandoned us. Falcon didn't. Falcon killed half our team. They were cleaning up what the brass left behind. Her voice hardened. Then explain last night. Who sent the men with guns? Moreland, Falcon's new director. He thinks you're the only one who can unlock the Helix data. You were Echo 9. Your biometrics are the final key. Ava went still. The capsule. The scientist gave it to me before extraction.
Right, he said. That wasn't intel. It was coordinates, a map. Moreland renamed the program Project Revenant. He's rebuilding Helix into something worse. What kind of something? Autonomous weapons, AI-driven combat units, no chain of command, no conscience. Ava pressed a hand to her temple. You helped build this? He said quietly. I thought it would save soldiers, but now it's just another ghost factory. The man she trusted had built the machine hunting her. The line crackled. Someone was tracing the call. Ava moved toward the window, scanning rooftops. Hale, where are you? Doesn't matter. They're closing in. If you want answers, go to Dock 47, the old naval yard. It's where Helix began. Then the line went dead. Ava disconnected the terminal, but the screen glitched, and suddenly she saw herself, live footage from above, a drone feed. Damn it. She dropped flat just as bullets tore through the windows. Sparks burst from the console, glass raining across the floor. Ava rolled behind a steel crate, firing 2 quick rounds through the broken frame. One attacker screamed, then silence. She sprinted to the side exit, boots slipping on glass, and kicked it open. The street was empty except for a black SUV idling near the corner, its windshield glinting under the rising sun. They'd recognized the faint logo beneath the dust. Falcon Systems. They'd found her again. Ava ducked as the first burst chewed through the metal door behind her. She moved fast, low and wide, cutting across the alley, vaulting a trash bin as bullets sparked off the concrete. Her focus narrowed to survival math, cover, distance, angle. She dove behind an abandoned sedan, counted the shooter's rhythm, 3 round bursts, 2-second pause, then leaned out and fired once. Clean hit. The engine hissed, silence, then a secondary crack, a second vehicle turning in. Too many. Ava slipped through a gap in the fence, rolled into a narrow passage, and kept moving until her lungs burned. When she finally stopped, 2 blocks away, the garage behind her was engulfed in flame, smoke twisting into the pink dawn sky. Her safe house was gone. So was everything in it. She didn't look back. She couldn't. They thought she'd run, but they'd only given her a direction. Ava climbed a fire escape to a rooftop overlooking the river. From up here, the city looked peaceful, unaware of the war waking under its surface. She checked her ammo, reloaded, and studied the coordinates burned into her memory. Dock 47. That was where Hale wanted her to go, the place she'd sworn never to return to, the place where Helix was born. She pulled her hood up, eyes narrowing against the morning light. They'd taken her peace, her cover, her home. Now she was done being hunted. By the time the sun hit the water, Ava Brooks would be heading to Dock 47, and the hunters were about to learn what it means to corner a Navy SEAL. The road to Dock 47 cut through the forgotten edges of the city, warehouses rusting in silence, cranes frozen mid-lift, the ocean wind carrying the faint taste of iron. Ava moved like a shadow between the skeletal structures, each step deliberate. The yard had been decommissioned for a decade, but someone had brought it back to life.
Fresh tire marks crossed the gravel. Surveillance cameras blinked red through layers of dust. She stopped behind a row of containers, scanning the pier. 2 guards in tactical vests patrolled the far end, moving with the precision of trained soldiers. Falcon Systems. They'd claimed this place. Ava crouched low, adjusted her grip on the pistol, and slid forward, using the stacks of steel crates for cover. Every sense sharpened, every breath slowed. The smell of brine, the whine of metal, the rhythmic creak of mooring cables, all catalogued. A faint click sounded under her boot. She froze. Laser tripwire. The beam traced across her thigh, cutting through the dark like a red thread. She cursed under her breath and pivoted sideways, breaking contact a heartbeat before the alarm could trigger. Her pulse steadied. They weren't guarding Dock 47. They were guarding something underneath it. She slipped inside Warehouse C through a cracked service door. The interior was vast, empty, and still, except for the soft blue glow pulsing from the far wall. Servers. Modern. Active. The hum filled the air like a heartbeat. Ava's steps echoed softly on the steel floor until a voice drifted from the catwalk above. "Still moving like a ghost, Echo 9. Her blood chilled. She looked up. Hale. He stood under a flickering light, rifle slung over one shoulder, older, rougher, but alive. "You shouldn't be here." "I could say the same," she replied. His mouth twisted into something between guilt and exhaustion. "You're too late. Moreland's sealing the archive. Once he locks it, Helix is reborn. Then you'd better start talking." Hale exhaled. "Falcon turned Helix into an autonomous strike network. They call it Project Revenant. Drones, satellites, targeting AIs, all running the algorithm we built. No soldiers, no conscience, just code. So why help me? Because I finally saw what it does. Last month, Revenant executed 47 people in a compound that wasn't even on the target list. He wasn't her enemy anymore. Just another ghost looking for a clean death." He tossed her a chip drive. "Plug that into the main hub. It'll overload their core. But once it starts, the system will fight back." I nodded. "And then let's see if it still bleeds."
They moved together through the narrow corridor toward the central bunker. Lights flickered overhead. Somewhere below, machinery hummed like distant thunder. At the end of the hall stood a reinforced glass wall, and behind it, a man in a tailored suit monitoring the servers. Moreland. He didn't even flinch when they entered. "I wondered how long it would take you to come home, Commander Brooks." Ava raised her pistol. "You built a monster. I perfected one. A soldier who never hesitates, never questions, never fails. The human element was always the flaw. You mean people. I mean emotion." Ava's finger tightened on the trigger. "Then here's some for you. Anger." Before he could react, she fired at the console. Sparks exploded. Alarms shrieked as the room plunged into red emergency light. Hidden panels slid open across the chamber walls. From within stepped 4 black-clad drones, each shaped like a man, each moving too smoothly to be human. "Helix units," Hale muttered. "Guess we're the beta test," Ava said, reloading. Gunfire filled the room. Ava ducked behind a column, fired twice, and hit one drone in the sensor cluster. Sparks burst like fireworks. Hale moved opposite flank, drawing fire while she sprinted toward the server core. She yanked open a control box, slammed the chip drive into the port, and hit execute. The system screamed, light strobing, circuits frying. The drones faltered mid-step, red optics flickering. Moreland shouted from behind the glass, hammering a control panel, but the core was melting down faster than he could stop it. One drone broke free, charging.
Ava dropped to one knee, fired 3 quick shots into its chest. The rounds tore through metal. The unit staggered, collapsing into sparks. Then silence. Just the hum of dying power. Ava looked up through the smoke. The glass chamber was empty. Moreland was gone. "Hale!" she called. He was slumped against the wall, blood seeping through his jacket. "You did it," he said weakly. "Don't start with the goodbye talk," she snapped, pressing a hand to his wound. "It's fine," he said, eyes dimming. "He's taking the archive to the East Pier. You can still catch him." "Hale, stay with me," he smiled faintly. "I owed you one. Consider it paid." The man who betrayed her had just died, making it right. Ava stood for a moment, her expression hard but unreadable. She holstered her weapon and turned toward the exit. Outside, the sound of a motorboat echoed through the fog. Moreland, escaping. She stepped into the wind, the sea air cutting through the smoke, and looked toward the pier. Dock 47 was burning behind her. The war she had buried was awake again. By sunrise, she'd be on the East Pier, and this time, the man who thought he could control ghosts would finally meet one.
Fog crawled over the water like smoke as Ava approached the East Pier. The air was thick with salt and diesel. Ahead, the old cargo yard flickered with floodlights, trucks idling, guards pacing, and a transport vessel humming at the dock. Every movement spoke of precision. Someone was leaving in a hurry. Through her scope, she found him. Moreland. Calm, efficient, barking orders into a headset. He held a small black case in his hand, the Helix archive. Around him, a dozen armed men worked to load it onto the ship. He wasn't escaping. He was deploying a weapon. Ava slipped through the fog, keeping low between the stacked containers. The pistol in her hand felt steady, familiar. When 2 guards turned the corner, she moved first. 1 shot to the chest, 1 strike to the throat. Both down. No alarm. The smell of salt mixed with blood. She pressed forward. Each footstep was measured, every breath contained. Years of training reduced to instinct. As she reached the loading bay, a voice carried through the noise. "Commander Shaw, take the package aboard and eliminate the intruder." Ava froze. That name. Shaw. Her old instructor from BUDS. The woman who'd taught her everything about silence and precision. A ghost from the life she'd buried. They hadn't just stolen her mission. They'd stolen her past. A shadow moved ahead. Shaw stepped into the light, tactical gear sharp against the fog. Her expression was calm, the same detached control Ava remembered from years ago. "Ava Brooks," she said quietly. "You always had terrible timing." Ava raised her weapon. "You always had terrible loyalty." "You left the fight," Shaw said. "I just changed who I fought for." They opened fire at the same time. Sparks danced off steel. Ava dove behind a container, bullets slicing the air. She rolled, fired back, clipped the edge of Shaw's rifle. The second exchange was faster, 2 professionals reading each other's next breath. Shaw charged, close quarters, metal hit flesh, elbows and knees a blur. Ava caught her arm, twisted, but Shaw broke free, slamming a knee into her ribs. Ava staggered, then countered with a headbutt that sent them both to the floor. The fight turned brutal, efficient. No wasted motion, no hesitation. Shaw's knife flashed. Ava blocked it with her forearm, ignoring the cut. She slammed her palm under Shaw's chin, grabbed her collar, and drove her backward into a wall. The impact rang like a bell. "Where's Moreland?" Ava hissed. Shaw's grin was faint, almost pitying. "You can't stop him. Revenant's already online." The words hit harder than any punch. Ava's grip tightened. "Then I'll take out the source." A quick strike to the throat ended the fight. Shaw collapsed, gasping but alive. She didn't look back. She sprinted toward the ramp, boots pounding against steel. Moreland was halfway up the gangway, clutching the case. He turned when he heard her footsteps, eyes wide for the first time.
"You don't understand," he shouted. "Revenant will replace all of you." Ava aimed, breath steady. "Then it dies with you." She fired. One round hit his shoulder, spinning him sideways. The case slipped from his hand, skidding across the ramp. Ava lunged forward, grabbing it before it slid into the water. Alarms erupted across the pier. The ship's turbines roared to life, drowning out every sound but her heartbeat. She looked down at the blinking lights on the archive, a pulse, steady as her own. It was still active. The only way to stop the system was to destroy it, even if it meant going down with it. Ava ran toward the edge of the dock. The case grew hotter in her grip, the algorithm inside reacting to motion. Behind her, the ship exploded, fire and shockwave lifting her off her feet. She hit the ground hard, clutching the case to her chest as the blast tore the fog apart. When she opened her eyes, the pier was burning. The sea glowed red. Somewhere in that wreckage, Falcon's empire was sinking. Ava dragged herself to her knees, staring at the black case still blinking faintly in her hands. She exhaled once, calm and certain. Then she hurled it into the flames. The light vanished beneath the smoke, but deep below the waterline, something still flickered. Proof that Revenant wasn't finished, and neither was she. The fire on the pier burned through the fog, painting the waves in orange and gold. Ava sat on the edge of the wreckage, chest heaving, face streaked with ash. Every muscle trembled from adrenaline, exhaustion, and the faint disbelief that she was still alive. Sirens wailed in the distance, their echoes swallowed by the roar of the flames. The Helix archive was gone, melted, buried under a sea of fire, but the faint blinking she'd seen before it sank still haunted her. Machines didn't die that easily. Her earpiece crackled. Static first, then a voice she hadn't heard since Commander Briggs vanished from the grid. "Echo 9, report." Ava swallowed hard. "Mission complete. Revenant destroyed." Silence. Then Briggs said softly, "We both know that's never entirely true." Ava's gaze drifted toward the horizon, where the sun was rising through the haze. She said, "Maybe not, but at least it's wounded." She hadn't killed the system. She'd made it bleed. The line went dead again. Typical Briggs. Typical ghosts. Ava stood, body aching, wind tugging at her hair. Down below, Coast Guard boats cut through the smoke toward the ruins. She holstered her weapon, pulled her hood up, and turned toward the city skyline, the world she'd tried to rejoin, now impossibly far away. She'd saved it. She'd burned for it. But she knew what came next. When someone erases a monster, someone else starts drawing the next one. As she walked into the smoke, a single phrase echoed through her mind, the creed they drilled into every SEAL from day one. The only easy day was yesterday. Tonight, that finally felt true. They'd hunted her to end a secret. Instead, they created one, and her name was Ava Brooks.